Anyway, talk about a cool name. I know we're missing Dave Marino, so I had to bring another DM on.
You always outnumber me with the Daves.
Yeah, exactly. But look at this name, brother. Could it get any cooler than this? Dave McCool. He's president and CEO of Muzzy Lane, muzzylane.com, and just an award-winning CEO, president in the ed tech space. You Dave, you were part and parcel in the green room there, waiting as we talk about Web3 and technology. All of our major institutions, financial, political, educational, are upside down with capability. And it's a good thing. The problem is when you infuse capability into glacial speed type of institutions, it causes great disruption. It also provides really great opportunity. And, where you're leading the way is in what I feel to be the greatest part of our institutions that's been not necessarily prioritized correctly in history. And I don't know, maybe it's cultural, the way I grew up. I just believe education is the key. And I've pushed my entire career to prioritize education and infuse it with as much of the power of technology that we can. And you're an award-winning CEO and president of an ed tech company. The XCredit project is designed to empower these capabilities into education. What are some of the nuances that you see today in ed tech that has allowed you to kind of lead the way in these experiences?
I'd say a few things. First of all, thanks for having me on your show. It was actually fun seeing your last segment. Start with XCredit. So it stands for Experience Credit. It's funded by Walmart Foundation. The mission is simple. It's people have skills. People have things they can do. They've developed through life experience, through being in the military, through previous work experience, but they don't have an easy way to signal that to the next employer. They want to get a better job. You're working the front desk at CVS. You want to get to the pharma tech, get that pay increase, and college isn't really an option for you because of time and money. So XCredit gives you an opportunity to come in and showcase those skills, either by showing previous transcripts, by taking automated assessments. And now you've got a credential that says, hey, I can do this job. I can, I have good customer service skills. I have critical thinking skills, very much a focus on soft skills in the XCredit project. So I think that's a big piece of it. But I think it's just a small part of like the larger landscape where, the number you hear all the time now is 39 million Americans have some college, but no degree. So it doesn't really help them at all in their job search. And how do we credential those skills that they developed through that time that they spent learning, so it help them get better jobs?
Good morning, Dave. So how do we direct people? Because very often, and I was a product of this until I pivoted, we find ourselves going to college because our parents tell us to, and it's the right thing to do. And we study this, and then we end up realizing that we love that, but we don't necessarily have the skills to get us the job in that because we studied this. So how do we start to focus on getting people where they want to be, rather than where they think they want to be?
Yeah, I think, I certainly grew up in the generation where everyone should go to college was the message we heard. Like college is the route to success in life. So go to college. Yeah. I think what we're finding is that not everybody, that wasn't the right answer for everybody. So now we say, well, what instead? What are the alternate pathways? What are the other options that people have to develop their skills, showcase their skills, and then make those visible? You guys probably know employers, especially large employers, are increasingly using applicant tracking systems. So they're processing your resume with a computer before anyone ever even looks at it. So how do we make sure your resume has the things on it that get you noticed? So I think you see Coursera, you see Udacity, Udemy, you see the online platforms are out there proliferating, lots of people going through them, lots of people getting credentials. So I think all the pathways are now in place and the options are available. A lot of it now is about credibility. And it's funny thinking back to your previous segment, how do you verify these credentials? How do you make sure that they mean something, that they're not fake? And that they show that you can actually do the thing they say you can do.
And it also is front facing in the respect that it's not just the students that it's empowering and building a credential or a CV or a resume, or even exposing them and raising their awareness to opportunities, options, touches of favors that exist within their own companies and other companies, but it's the educators as well. The front-facing side of what you're doing is empowering educators, designers, course developers with Muzzy Lane in order to facilitate a better way to empower the students. And when we find better ways to empower students, it actually empowers the educators themselves. What have you seen so far with Muzzy Lane, with these online simulations that you have and partnering with the course creators and publishers themselves?
So that's a good question, because the simulations and game-like software has been around for a long time. It's complicated software to build. It's complicated to deliver. Our mission really was to build a tool set that would allow non-technical people. You're a subject matter expert, you're a course creator, you just want to add some active learning, learn by doing, and then you want to assess skills. You don't want to give a multiple choice test. You want to say, hey, can David actually problem solve in the produce department at the supermarket? Let's put him in that situation. Let's have him interact with some AI-driven characters, create a problem for him to solve, and can he actually work through solving that problem? And auto grade you, because the biggest problem when you start thinking about assessing skills, testing skills, is it's time consuming to grade. A lot of times it's done by, you would actually administer to me that test and you would judge my response, and you don't necessarily have time to do that for 1,000 students. So automating that has been a big part of bringing this much more equitably to more students.
It's funny you say that. The producer of this show, Matt, who's graciously up early here on the West Coast to produce a show the day after Thanksgiving, he was the lettuce washer at Stater Brothers, and I utilized understanding and assessing his skills that he could follow instructions and would not be bored every day, because if he could do that every day, he definitely could do this. And then even more importantly, they're open the day after Thanksgiving, so he had to be in Stater Brothers at 5 a.m. So I knew he would have no problem showing up for the show. So I wish I had Muzzy Lane to find more Matts in the world. The only detriment is I would have a nuance of, what football teams you like, because he's a Cowboy fan. And we all know that the Cowboys are great in the regular season, but once the playoffs come, they turn into the Browns. And I mean that with a dual meaning. When I go to the bathroom, I always tell my kids that I'm taking the Browns to the Super Bowl. And so maybe I'll start saying I'm taking the Cowboys to the Super Bowl. Anyway, I digress, Mike. A perfect transition into education.
I am hitting my America's Got Talent golden ticket buzzer for Matt. Yeah, I'm with you for Matt. He's always there. Dave, you make a fantastic point, and I'm really excited to dive deeper into what you guys are doing. How do you assess, with regard to skills, how do you assess the quote unquote traditional or academic skills versus some of the soft skills and emotional skills that people have that are also so important in making them successful?
Sure. Yeah. Most of our business to date has been assessing academic skills or developing academic skills. So partners like McGraw-Hill, who's a large partner of Western Governors University, think about business. So you're in a marketing class, you're learning about the 4 P's of marketing. So it's price, positioning, place, promotion. Let's have you do that. Let's give you an opportunity to say, hey, you're going to introduce a backpack to a market. How are you going to price it? Who are you going to target? Where are you going to advertise? What message are you going to send? Do you understand the consistency of messaging over time? And so you're playing this simulation where you're playing all that out, making those choices. The code that's driving the simulation is reacting to you, giving you feedback. That worked well, that didn't work well. Maybe you might have a competitor. Sometimes you'll be competing in a market as you do that. So that's pretty well established. We're touching millions of students today doing that basic job. The soft skills is sort of the new piece that we brought into place with a company called Education Design Lab, who's a nonprofit who we're partnering with on this. They're very focused on equity. They're very focused on getting those people who haven't had opportunity with the current system opportunity. And they've really built out the taxonomy. They're the subject matter experts for soft skills. We're the tech guys who've come in and helped light those up with these scenarios where, like, say, you're in the supermarket trying to find settings that resonate with the broadest number of potential learners who come in. And so, there was a flyer, there's a promotion, worked well in Denver. Would it work for you? Well, how do you figure that out? Do you talk to the Denver person? Do you do some research? Do you look at the data? And then you interact with your boss to try to make recommendations to solve that problem.
And finally, David, one of the areas that's missing in traditional education is this assessment. Mike and I both went to undergrad and law school, business school. We came out probably not even knowing ourselves what soft skills we had. You end up taking the bar, spending $100,000 back then to go to law school. Now $250,000 probably on average to go to law school. And is there any plans to assist our traditional educational system to have what's more aligned with and more applicable to the workforce today, some of these assessments, because there's obviously a social networking experiential value to the old traditional colleges. There's no shortage of kids applying, but I think we're lacking your capabilities in colleges.
Yeah, I think what's exciting is that people are starting to, in the traditional education system, 2 and 4 years, they're starting to say, look, we've always kind of taken for granted that if you make it through 4 years of college, you probably have some decent soft skills. You can probably do critical thinking. You probably creative problem solving, but we don't credential that. We don't mark that. And so they're actually now coming in, they're seeing what's happening in the alternate space. And they're saying, hey, we want to do that too. So I'm Western Governors and you're going to get a bachelor's in, IT from me. I'd love to actually credential you for some of these soft skills along the way so that when you go to get your job, you can say, hey, look, I demonstrated proficiency in empathy, intercultural fluency, oral communication, in addition to having this bachelor's degree. So that's an exciting development, I think, over the last couple of years.
Absolutely. Mike, do you have a quick question or?
Yeah. So my final question would be, how do we get started? If somebody wants somebody out there listening, what do we do?
Yep. So I'd say come to muzzylane.com. You'll learn all about what we're doing. We're working on building skills-based courseware. Go to eddesign.lab.org. That's where the XCredit project is living. And that's a really exciting one. It's free. It's, like I said, Walmart Foundation's funding this, focused initially on ex-military, transitioning back to the civilian workforce, now adding in civilian use cases. It's a great place to go.
Yeah, and I will add, just as a credit to this athlete, I have in my background in space, this is a perfect thing for athletes, right? Because we can assess. People ask me all the time the experiences that I had, what's most applicable to the successes I've had. Playing sports in college to me was far more valuable as far as soft skills and leadership skills, teamwork skills, critical reactive thinking, a variety of things that I wish they could have assessed instead of looking down on me when I graduated, because I was a college football player. Academically at least, that it would be assessed and credited. And I think as a testament to what you're doing, an endorsement of what you're doing, if you're an athlete out there, please go to XCredit Project. I think you'll get a great assessment on those things that other people may not get, that you learned, that we see all throughout the C-suite executives, military and athletes, of what they've learned. They make great corporate leaders, great corporate managers, directors, and employees. So just an extra endorsement for Muzzy Lane, muzzylane.com. The coolest name here ever on Office Hours, Dave McCool, leading the way, President and CEO of Muzzy Lane. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Dave.